Whose turn was it to do the invocation? Mr. Akers, would you deliver the invocation, please?
Happy to. Please stand, please. Our loving and wonderful Heavenly Father, as we come into this place this evening to conduct the business of this county, we ask for your guidance, we ask for your wisdom, and we ask for your understanding. Lord, we pray that you'll help each of us to make the best decision that we know how for the people of this county. And we'll always give you the honor and the glory for the decisions we make. We thank you for loving us and protecting us. And Lord, we thank you for what you've done for this county and how you've allowed it to grow. We thank you for all those things. For it is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. You please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, could I have the... Oh, I got it. All right. All right, we have scheduled one closed meeting. We're going to add another. If the audience will indulge us for a second, we need something to discuss something right away. We are going to move the board convening closed session pursuant to the public contract exemption, section 2.23711A29, where discussion in open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the county regarding a negotiated statement. So could I have that motion, please?
So move. Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Akers, seconded by Mr. Seeley. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. The motion carries unanimously. We will be back in 10 minutes. Thank you for your patience. We have, I didn't want this. Right. I need a motion to come out of closed meeting. We never did finish, but motion to come out of closed meeting?
So move. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Underwood, seconded by Mr. Akers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Taylor, do you certify that only those things we went into closed meeting were discussed?
I so certify, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Black?
I so certify.
Mr. Underwood?
I so certify.
Mr. Akers?
I so certify.
Mr. Seeley?
I so certify.
And I so certify. I've lost Mr. Cully and Mr. Parton. Well, that's okay. All right. Board members have in front of them proposed addendum, agenda item 1 and 8. He has additional information. The waiver for storm debris at the landfill, we discussed that. It was on consent. I believe somebody asked to have more discussion. And then we had agenda items, I guess we'll call them 10A and 10B, which was the amendment to the solid waste plan and the text amendment. So is there a motion to adopt the addendum as presented?
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Akers to adopt the addendum, seconded by Mr. Taylor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Mr. Taylor, you vote to amend the agenda?
Aye.
Mr. Black?
Nay.
Mr. Underwood?
Aye.
Mr. Akers?
Aye.
Mr. Seeley?
Nay.
And I vote aye. Motion carries 4-2. We are opening board comments. Mr. Taylor?
I don't have any at this time, Mr. Chairman. I did have one, but I would reserve the right to maybe wait until after public comment, and we may address that issue if I could.
Okay, you want to go last on public comment. That's fine. Mr. Black?
I have a few, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to thank the Caroline County Sheriff's Department. Had an opportunity to do the Citizen Ride-Along program with Deputy Major McCarty, I guess, Sergeant McCarty, and Deputy Brown last Friday. And it really is kind of an eye-opening experience what these Sheriff's Department does for the county, so I want to thank them. It was quite an interesting 5 hours. Also, I've been continuing going to different staff meetings. Today I was able to visit the Economic Development Office. Mr. Wilson, I'd like to thank you and your staff for the hospitality and the information. You find out a lot of information that's going on within the county by doing that. And finally, I would just like to say there was a 4th of July celebration, first first one, I guess, in Lake Landor, where there's a parade, and it was quite a show, and they did an excellent job. So I'd like to thank the residents of Lake Landor for hosting that, and it was a really good time. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Mr. Underwood? Thank you, Mr. Black. Mr. Underwood? None at this time, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Akers?
Mr. Chairman, I do have two. The first one, and I'll certainly take blame for my part in it. I was told today that the county fair, that we reduced their budget by $3,000 this year from $12,000 to $9,000. I was under the impression that it was level funding, to be quite honest with you.
I thought when it goes back to when I first got here that they were on a plan to be reduced off of the county budget from their original.
I know we talked about that.
And I think that's
as a
been the
board.
plan.
But I would have thought that we would have notified them in advance that, hey, we're going to implement this plan of reducing you so many $1,000s a year. As I told the person today, I think that certainly it's a thought process that eventually that you get off of the county funding. But right now, I don't know that we should have cut them by $3,000 without first letting them know. Because especially the county fair, they've gone out and they've contracted with a lot of the people that they're going to be bringing in to do the jobs in the fair. And so I would certainly like to see us add that $3,000 back to their budget. I'm sorry?
I said I thought we had informed them of that 2 years ago, that we were going to start reducing their budget, but
The president told me today that she did not know anything about it.
right, I understand.
And that she had not heard anything about it. So again, I just think we need to, $3,000, show good faith.
Mr. Wilson, would you come forward, please?
Comes out of the TOT budget.
Everybody.
Yeah, I thought so, but we didn't. Reduced it from
Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Chairman, we actually have alerted them in the past that this was the process, that there would be a diminishment because it was by and large the largest amount of money we were putting to any one particular program, and they knew, or at least we believe they knew, having discussed it with them, that it would be a declining amount until it would sort of equal with everyone else. We didn't send them a letter or anything like that for this year, but we have had that conversation in the past.
Members are short when it comes to money, and I think that we should have, let them know that we're reducing your budget by $3,000. I think if nothing else, we need to let them know now that next year we're going to reduce it by $3,000 so they can prepare for it when they are signing contracts with the various companies that come in and perform the fair. Having said that, and I have one more comment, I don't know whether a motion is in order to make a motion to put that $3,000 back into the budget of the county fair.
We'll do your second comment, and then we'll come back.
Okay. Second comment is, if the board has no issues and no problems, I would like for the board to move its August meeting from the 12th to the 5th, if there's no conflict with the board members.
I don't have any. I don't think I have it. I'm good.
We have the one meeting in August, right?
We only have the one, and we plan to have a wastewater meeting the 4th Tuesday. Because we had the water meeting, we didn't finish and get to wastewater. I don't have anything July 5th.
I mean, usually, yeah.
I don't have anything.
Yeah, that's usually the time I'm on vacation in Maine. Would it be the following week? Would that be okay? Like instead of going a week later, and instead of a week earlier, a week later?
No, 'cause to be honest, my son is getting married and the following week, and I just need to get some things done the week before. But again, that's fine. I'll just miss that meeting, is what it amounts to. And it's fine. There's no difference between you missing it and me having to miss
Right.
it. So if you're going to be on vacation.
You want to do the 26th for our meeting? And we'll spend an hour, we'll come here an hour early and finish up the wastewater. We just have one meeting on the 26th. Will that work for you?
Yeah, I
So
can make
2
it.
weeks later?
Yeah, I can make it last
Yeah,
the 4th.
right, yeah.
Doing on
Make it the
26th?
4th.
Yeah.
I can make it the 4th usually.
Hmm?
The 4th usually would be fine.
Okay, so we're gonna move the 12th meeting to the 26th.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll take, after we finish, we'll take motions for both of those.
And I'm through with that.
Okay, Mr. Seeley?
I would just like to say what a nice 4th of July celebration Port Royal did. Mr. Taylor was there. Mr. Thomas was there. They did an outstanding job, even in the face of adversity of not knowing what the weather was going to be. It did clear out. It was nice. It was just a little windy, but they had a great event on the 4th in Port Royal. The other thing is Mr. Akers has alluded to, the county fair starts Wednesday. It grows every year. They've added a number of new events. For those that haven't seen it, they have actually moved their dirt pile, and they are now getting ready to have a tractor pull, which they're hoping will become a regional event, not just a county event, but there is plenty of interest. They have had volunteers from Maryland and around the state of Virginia to help them accomplish this task in a short period of time. I think it's nothing short of miraculous what they've done in the last couple of weeks and actually getting ready. So just want everybody to be aware, Wednesday through Saturday, the county fair starts, and they're looking for a great year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Tomorrow.
Starts tomorrow, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Seeley. I have a few. One is we finally completed the easement. I think I signed that a couple of weeks ago for Columbia Gas to run natural gas to Milford. I've actually spoke to some folks at Hoover, and they expect that to lead to more jobs because their fuel prices will go down. So I think that's really good. The other one, I believe we have, we're going to discuss it later, but I believe we finally have a plan to bring Germanna to the county, one way or the other. They are going to look at workforce learning at first, which will help our workforce and set us up in a better position. Officially, we didn't take action at the water work session, but the plan was to have staff look at running water to the Route 30 area. So I know you weren't here. That's the only action we really took, and we're having staff, Mr. Schiebel is going to look at that and then probably try to report back to us on the 26th. And I'm sure the rest of the board got it, but I got a notice from DEQ that Aqua Virginia wants to withdraw water from the lake at Lake Caroline. And that's their draft withdrawal permit. And it is reverting back to a private system, so that won't have anything to do with the county, but that's part of their standard notice. All right, Mr. Taylor, you wanted to add something?
Basically, I guess a discussion, informational purposes on Burma Road. I understand that there are some persons who still have some concerns, and I just need to talk about what has happened, over the past month.
Go ahead.
So you want me to do it now?
Go ahead.
Okay, all right. Basically, there was a concern about Burma Road, and the concern was that the turnaround, there were problems with the turnaround. So my understanding is the VDOT has approved the turnaround that's now there. I went down, I looked at the turnaround. We were riding in a sports utility vehicle. We were able to turn around. It's not the circular turnaround as was at first, but it is space enough to pull up with a vehicle, back up and go out. There was a concern about a school bus, because obviously that's a larger vehicle. The understanding is that there is an agreement with Mr. Shelton and a part of Burma Road that's owned jointly by the Silver Company and Mr. Shelton. And there is a turnaround that can be used, or that is in writing, that there's been a negotiation. The school board seems to be okay with it. So the school bus issue seems not to be an issue. So basically, having said that, if VDOT has approved it, I don't know if there's anything we can do to make it any different. If you can go in and turn around and come out, if the school bus is not an issue, then I don't know that there is anything else that we can do about it. And I just basically wanted to say that, so that, because I know there were citizens who had concerns about it, and if any citizen would like to speak with me about it later or whatever, I'll be glad to talk with them. But after having visited it, it seems to meet the need. Now, the one concern that I do have really doesn't have anything to do with the turnaround. It has to do with the fact that there's a sign there that VDOT has placed there that says local traffic only. I don't know that there's anything we can do about that, but I don't understand why, if an area is a tourist attraction, you wouldn't want people riding by to go down that road if they choose to do it. So I do have a concern about that, the local traffic only sign. But that was decided by VDOT, and when the engineer come, we can probably talk about that. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Akers, would you like to make a motion to restore the $3,000 to the Carolina Agricultural Fair?
Mr. Chairman, you explained it quite well, and I would like to make that motion that we restore the $3,000 to the county fair budget line item.
I'll second the motion.
It's,
It may have to come out of unencumbered balance.
well, July 1st. Yeah, it'll come out of unencumbered balance now, if the board decides to do that, but I expect the tourism fund to pay back the unencumbered balance, or as much as it can. All right, that was, Mr. Akers made the motion, Mr. Underwood made the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously.
And I think, Mr. Chairman, staff needs to, when they send the other $3,000 to them, send them a letter at the same time indicating that next year you will be reduced to $9,000.
Right.
If that is what we've agreed to in the past.
I think that was the plan, and that's fine. So, Mr. Wilson will make sure you, as the economic development and tourism person, have that responsibility, and you'll make sure it happens. Mr. Akers, would you also give us a motion? Would you also give us a motion to move our August 12th meeting to the 24th of August?
Yes, sir. I'll make that motion.
I will second that.
26th.
26, not the 24th, 26.
Well, how come 12 and 14 is not 24?
Because 12 and 14 is 26.
Well, I just wrote 24. All right, all in favor of the motion to move the August 12th meeting to the 26th, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. That motion, too, carries unanimously. All righty, and now we get to our first order of business, which is presentations reports. Mrs. Curran, we are going to talk about the discussion and proposed publication of list of delinquent personal property taxpayers in the newspaper. Good to see you again, as always.
Good to see you all. Hopefully we can reach a decision or continue the discussion. But I have given you all some information. I know you didn't get it until last night. In response to some of the questions that we discussed at the last board meeting that I attended, where we discussed this, as far as Supervisor Black, I believe you had questions regarding the amount of taxes that we had written off over the last 5 years, and that information is provided. It does look like, looking at the percentage of the original tax assessment, that the percentage being written off is less. We're trying to do a better job. 5 years ago, it looked like it was at 3.87%, and for 2014, the amount we wrote off for 2007 was 2.3%. So I think what we're doing is, is working. We are, but again, we can always, try something new. In response to Supervisor Underwood's question about the number of people, I tried to use 2011 as a sample and ran the report to show who was delinquent for 2011 and still delinquent in 2014, and it's almost half of them are still delinquent. So some of them, the people, they have permanent tags on their vehicles, they may have moved out of state, and we're still assessing. So those we wouldn't be able to collect, but that is, I do have my staff reviewing that list and trying to see if there's anything else that we can do with those people. As far as the publishing the names in the paper, we have included the wording on the delinquent list, on the delinquent notices that are going out later this month. And it does say that we can publish the list with the names as of June 30th, but since we're just now notifying them, I mean, we may need to wait, or we may need to consider the option of publishing it on the web as opposed to publishing it in the newspaper. Talking with some of the other treasurers, the cost of the ad is a deterrent for them to, one treasurer said that he had advertised in the past, but the last time he ran the ad and paid $3,500, he had 5 phone calls and really no collections. But that's somebody that has run the ad in previous years. So a one-time, you know, a running of the ad might get us some significant collections. As far as the amount of taxes, I've included a couple of schedules as far as the percentage. I guess most notably is that the uncollected by year, the 2008 that we still have out there, if we receive payments, we are accepting them. And that is the next year to be purged in FY15, that it is a little over $2 million in those delinquent taxes. I'm not even considering 2014 because we've only billed the first half at this point. So, I mean, it is a significant amount of money.
Mrs. Karen, if I could ask you a question, in my conversations with Supervisor Black and some of the other board members, is there a significant number of revenue in maybe the top 25 that owe money, or is it the same for the whole group?
I think there is a significant amount of money in the top numbers. However, some of the, I mean, the top 10 that I have looked at, many of them are no longer in business, or they're, you know, they were companies with equipment, and they are no longer in business. I mean, they're not active in the SEC, and I don't know what we can do to try to collect that money.
So it's almost impossible to get it from a bankrupt business.
Right.
Okay. But is there like the top 10 or 20 or 50 that we could look at rather than the whole list? And maybe that's a list you could share with the board?
We could share that. I could share that with the board. Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Black?
Yeah, I just have a couple of things. I'm just seeing like the number, and this doesn't even include 2014. You know, and I mean, I guess it goes back to, and you've heard this before, you've heard this say before, I mean, we just put down an 11-cent tax increase on the citizens of Caroline County. And I know, I appreciate your collection rate. I appreciate it. I'm seeing the 96, 97%, and I think that's wonderful. But when you see a number of $2 million that's owed to the county, and I understand a lot of that, maybe some of that we're not going to get back. I get that, I understand that, but that's, you know, $2 million, if I'm doing the math, that's, I mean, if we were to collect 100%, that's 8 cents on the real estate. I mean, that would be 8 cents, $2 million. I mean, that's a lot of money. So I guess one thing is there a way for you to, I mean, I guess, because I understand the June 30th, the June 30th bills just went on, but is there a way for you to get us the individual list of, to print off, like, for example, here's, each supervisor get the list of you know, who's delinquent, how much is owed? Is that, can we get that?
It is. It's I've run the report preliminary, like, that would have gone in the
Right.
newspaper, and it is like 120 pages, but I could, you know, print one out for you all.
Okay.
There's 6,000 names on it.
But the
so
top 25 or
25,
50
yeah.
would be a significant number.
I can get you all a list of the top 25, and if Supervisor Black wants the entire list, we could, you know.
Yeah, if you give me that many names, I want a CD. Because I'm not going to get a hernia carrying the paper around.
Mr. Chairman? Okay. I guess the thing for me is and Mr. Chairman, and I guess this is directed more towards the board, is the advertisement I'm seeing like 30, I mean, it was a total of 5,000. Caroline Progress was
17.
17, and freelance was, you know, double that. So it's a total of $5,000. And even if we got 10% of what's owed to us, the $2 million, I'm paying $5,000 and I'm getting $200,000 back. I mean, to me, I don't see why the advertisement would be, even if you get 10% of it, would do quite well, and that's at a 10% collection rate on that. So, and my concern about the top 25, I understand where you're going with that, but then to me, you're picking on only. I mean, you got to treat everyone equally if you're going to go ahead and do this. And the someone you're saying the people who owe us $1,000. Well, if you owe us $1,000, your name gets published. But if you owe us, if you owe us 500 or 200, it doesn't matter.
Well, it's kind of like you're speeding down the highway, and I'm doing 75, and you're doing 85. Right. They're going to stop you. Well, let's say Mr. Seeley's doing 75 and you're doing 85. Right. They're going to stop you. So we're just getting the higher ones right now. We'll come back and get the other ones later, but that's all I'm saying.
Right.
But
and with that as well, I mean, one of the things I think that Ms. Curran would work with, if someone came to your office and said, hey, look, legitimately, you owe the county $500 in personal property tax. If someone legitimately has a hardship, you will work with them, correct? If they're making a payment plan. So if you put the notice saying I don't want to put anyone's name in the paper who's actually legitimately trying to pay the county back. If they've set up a payment plan with Ms. Curran, I say, hey, look, and Ms. Curran says they're legitimately doing that, then their name is not in the paper. So and I just think that you've got to treat everyone equally there.
I understand your point. I was just trying to at least give us something workable to start with.
That's what I would prefer, that we didn't publish the names of folks that have payment plans, and we have a significant number of folks that have payment plans, and the total numbers do include all those folks that have bankruptcy plans, and we have a number of Chapter 13 bankruptcy plans for a sizable amount of money, so those would not be included. These totals that I gave you are everything, not eliminating anybody.
Okay.
But we could go down and eliminate those names. I mean,
correct.
Quite easily. Okay. Thank you.
Can you, I'm sorry, Mr. Underwood? No, go ahead.
Yeah, I did ask Mr. Stern, ask you about the categories, and I guess that's what I'm really interested in. I understood you to say that half of the delinquencies reoccurring, basically. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Pretty much. So what I would like to try to do is those folks who we know we have the possibility of collecting, put them on one side of the table. For someone who's moved out of the county we haven't heard of, and businesses that have gone out of business, I doubt very seriously if we're going to collect. So I think we need to make two separate piles. We can still send a notice, but realistically, I'd like to see what that number looks like, because interest has accrued over years and all that's included. Right. And I would just like us to be able to really contact those folks who really would make a concerted effort with us to take care of their obligation. I'm not going to say that, I mean, a lot of folks fell on hard times in the last 5 years. So, like I said, some of them have gone out of business, some of them moved away, some of them may have even passed on, and relatives haven't taken care of their obligation. But if we could take a look at the category that they're in, I think that would give us a better idea of what we realistically have an opportunity to collect.
It is, I mean, it will take significant amount of time to go through each one, because just, for 2010, there's over 4,020 tickets as of June 30th that we're going to need to go through and code. So you take that times six, right. It's there are a significant number of tickets that you would have to go through and try to code them so that they would show on separate sides.
Yeah, I think that's part of the responsibility that we don't really understand, is how many man hours it's going to take to do what we're asking to do. We look at one number and say, oh, it's a big number, but then it's going to take a lot of work.
We have some of them coded, but
yes,
I mean, it's not, going through. I'm afraid with some of the folks, if we're publishing the list, that we don't have them coded as deceased. I mean, we try,
Yes,
But
ma'am.
there could be some of those names that are published in the paper, and, we're just not aware that they, are not, that they are deceased.
Absolutely.
Can we do this, gentlemen, or if there's no other
I just have
questions?
one question. Beth, do you recall as to the largest number from any one company or individual that is owed? The top one. You said there were like a top 25.
There's
What's the number
one that is a trucking company that has, it's like $54,000.
And that is the largest amount that's due.
And they're still in business?
They're not still in business. They have, they've changed names and they've changed their LLC, and we tried with DMV stops, but it just, they kept changing.
All right, can we possibly do this? You can generate this list
Yes, sir.
electronically,
Yes, sir.
not on a piece of paper. Could you possibly generate the list and make a CD, or have Mr. Montague help you make a CD and then give it to Mr. Cully?
Okay.
So we'll at least have one copy, and then we can take a look at it with Mr. Cully, and then I think make a decision if we want to do more from there.
Yes, I'm going to make the list as soon as I finish, as soon as I get the June bank reconciliation done. I don't want to include somebody on there that maybe made a payment at the bank and we haven't, picked up on it yet.
So by our July 26th meeting?
Yes, sir.
8 and 14 is only 22, so by our July 22nd meeting, I'm having a problem with 14 today.
Still be, I thought I was leaving for vacation on 26, so yes.
Okay. So we'll have that at our next meeting.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Cully will have it before then. We'll at least be able to look at it. If you want a CD, I guess you can make one, and we'll sign a non-disclosure if you need us to.
It's public information.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
names and amounts.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mrs. Carney.
Okay.
All righty. I have a zoning appeals, but I didn't contact him, so my bad. Recreation Advisory, Mr. Black and Mr. Taylor. Do you have a Recreation Advisory appointment?
I don't have one at this time either.
Okay. We will carry those over to our 22nd meeting. Consent agenda, A through E, we already asked for additional discussion on G. So, anyone like to pull A through F?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pull out E.
E, the purchase of 911 equipment for the communications center. Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to have some, I don't necessarily want to pull, I just have some questions on F.
Do you have questions on that?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily wanting to pull it, I just have a question. So I don't know if you want to pull it, that's fine, or, I mean...
Well, what's your question now?
I guess my question was how exactly the committee was made up, because I saw some stuff struck through, and I just wanted to make sure that Recreation Advisory Committee, because it said 2 members, I saw an old one, said 2 members of the Board of Supervisors, or members of the Board of Supervisors School Board.
Ms. Cully?
These were things that I struck after trying to have a Recreation Advisory Committee meeting that only 2 people showed up for. And after I'd called a special meeting of the group to try to organize it and get them to start meeting regular. So in looking through these things, there was some confusions to who actually was on it. And it looked like to me we needed to get a core group of folks that were interested in recreation and have them committed to the program. And so there was to me it was some sort of weird language in there, and I was just trying to straighten that out as to 1 school board member, 1 member of the Board of Supervisors, and 2 members at large, 1 student representative, in the 6 election districts. If you read it without my changes, it's sort of convoluted as to what and who was at large and members of the board and that type of thing. And that's still a fairly large committee, 11, I think, if you could get it all full.
All right, so this would be the old, I guess, the old recreation. Did we have 2 members of the Board of Supervisors on that committee?
We had one.
One.
We had 1.
There was 1. And we had someone from the school board on that committee?
We asked someone from the school board to be on the committee.
Student representative.
Never had the student one either.
Yeah, right.
We've been asking for a while.
Okay.
Who's the recreation appointee from? You are, okay.
All right. I didn't even know.
I know it. That's
false, isn't it? At least knowing you're on that committee.
He raised his hand.
All right, that's,
All right, so it's really
so
just
there'll be
a question.
11, there will be 11-member committee, and there'll be 2 members from the board of supervisors, 1 school board, and 1 student from the school system. Is
Yeah,
what, yes,
that's what
okay.
we're going to try. Like, I would imagine if we're trying to have 11, if they get 7 to show up, they'll at least have a,
Is the
pretty
school
good-
board aware of this? I'm just,
Well, they were always in it, so I don't,
okay.
Yeah,
Kinda let them
we'll
know.
certainly, if you, we'll let them know and.
Right,
I'll go to public.
okay.
and we are going to meet with the school board on the 22nd.
So it'll be something to discuss with them.
So
put on the
that'll be
agenda.
one of our other
Okay.
agenda items to make sure they understand.
That's all. Thank you.
All right, so F is okay, so a motion to approve A, B, C, D, and F would be in order.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Underwood, seconded by Mr. Akers. Discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion carries unanimously. Agenda item E, Mr. Seeley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was a little confusing to me. We were adding and we were subtracting and we were adding in grant money and we were taking money from the fund for the radio system about what we came to for a final number for this and whether it was an addition or whether it was still under budget. So I'd just like to go through the numbers so that I'm clear what they were.
Okay, I can explain that. In the radio system money we borrowed and in the contract with Motorola, we had planned to purchase a logging recorder in the amount of $163,025. So that's in the borrowed funds, and it's part of the project. The sheriff's office and the dispatch supervisor got a grant for $150,000 to pay for the logging recorder. So we've gotten a separate bill from Motorola to submit to the grant funding people to draw the $150,000 down. So technically, the logging recorder is only going to cost us $13,000. So we have $150,000 now left in the radio project. We also have to, and are required by changes to start receiving text messages in coming months on 911 systems to upgrade our 911 phone system, the other side of the radio system. That project cost us $214,991. We also, through the sheriff's office, received a grant, I think through dispatch, of $150,000. But as you can see, that doesn't cover the whole $214 because the state feels like we've got to have
And that
some.
was not part of the radio project.
That's not part of the radio system. So
That
that's
was-
$214,000 that we would just have to
Right.
pay for.
That was
And
one
we-
of the technology things we talked about a few months ago when I said that was coming, and we weren't prepared for it, so $214,000 prepares us.
And so we got $150,000 against that. The other thing is computer-aided dispatch, and they've changed some of the reporting requirements for the emergency medical and the things that go automatically to the state from that. So as usual with software, there's an upgrade required, $39,850 for computer-aided dispatch. No grant funds for that. So if you sort of look at the total cost of all the projects of $417,000 and minus out the grant money, we're at $117,000 we need. And where we're proposing to get that from is we won't have any phone maintenance, which we budgeted in FY15 for $42,800. We won't have any CAD maintenance, which we budgeted for $29,550 for 15. So we have $72,000 in the FY15 budget currently for maintenance that'll be covered because we're buying a new product that'll have maintenance for the first year in the project. So all we really need left is $45,000. We propose taking that from the radio project where we've saved $150,000. So net, we're $117,000 to the positive in the radio system. I've been through it six
Everybody
ways from
follow
Sunday.
that?
It is.
Everybody
We are
follow it?
actually
I read
plus
this.
117.
And did the numbers a couple of times and came up with two different sets of numbers. So I'm just making sure that at the end that we're still
We're positive in the radio system.
under budget on the radio system and we have no tower modifications. And I guess what I'd like to see is a radio report so that we,
We'll get
I mean,
one.
when do we go up on the towers? When do we go live? When do we do the green leaf testing?
can
Where
get that.
are we in the scheme?
I can get you that.
Because we, the county, are spending, $6.5 million.
Right.
And the ones of us sitting up here are responsible for making sure that that's all accounted for and works.
Correct. those of us that are trying to oversee it are making sure the same thing.
And
So
I
we'll
just
get
want,
you- we'll get
I
you-
would like to know where we're, if we could do that in.
We'll get your reports.
That would be really helpful because, you know, we see the numbers sort of piecemeal, and I don't dispute it. I just wanted to make sure that we were still on track and there were no other changes.
We brought you that change order that sort of cleaned everything up that we were aware of. We haven't had any other issues with tower structurals or those type of things that I've been made aware of. So I don't foresee any change orders of any significance. We've pretty much got the equipment. It's been ordered. It's been installed on both Hanover towers already. We're working up our last lease agreements on the towers. We're working one with state police. That was the last one I heard about, was state police needed some sort of structural because they have a really high standard. They don't let it get, you know, like 50% or 60%, and then they want it strengthened.
Okay. And what's the go-live date again?
November. But we're falling a little bit behind schedule due to getting leases on towers. I don't want to, one of the towers we've had a lot of difficulty with. I mean, the people that own it didn't realize they owned it in the beginning, so we've had a lot of trouble. They were a major corporation, so we've had a lot of trouble. I saw some emails on that today. I think that's moving finally with that corporation, so hopefully we'll be bringing that lease agreement to you so we can get on site with that and get moving. But Motorola's moving everywhere they can because, of course, they want to finish as well.
So we should have control of the system, we, the county, and
We
November?
hope. We're worried about the leaf testing. That we don't get everything ready to do the testing in the fall before the leaves fall. We'll have to be back in the spring when leaves and foliage come back out to actually do what would be the final coverage testing with leaves on the trees. Yes, we are concerned about that. So is Motorola, because they won't get final payment.
yeah, we won't make that until
Right.
we have it.
Correct.
We could theoretically be running.
Oh yeah,
on
we'd be
their
running
system
we'd be running the system. It wouldn't have
for-
gotten
for
coverage testing yet.
5 months or so before the leaves come out from November to whatever.
And they haven't given up on it. They still hoping that we can get the leases done and get the equipment. I mean, they have their vendor, their contractor's ready to install. The equipment is here. It's at Radiocom here, Radiocom in Henrico.
But that's a call we, the county, get to make, though? I'm just making sure.
Yeah, it's our call. If the leaves aren't on the trees, it's part of the contract. The coverage testing is with leaves because it does make a difference in where your signal strength is.
Tremendous.
And so, yeah, we would not accept the system if the leaves have already fallen off.
Okay. Now, were you satisfied?
I'm good.
Okay. The last thing, we're going to say we're to the good on the grants we got and other things. However, these are two separate things. The radio system and the dispatch equipment, although they work hand in hand, they're two different things.
That is correct.
The sheriff's got responsibility for all the dispatch equipment, and the county's going to have responsibility for the radio system. So even though we mixed or matched the money here, we kind of need to keep a little bit better count of whose money is where.
Who owns what?
Okay. All right, because, I mean, the radio system does belong to the sheriff, and the dispatch belongs to the sheriff, but the radio system belongs to everybody because, as the sheriff has said, he's one of the smallest users of the radio system because the schools are the biggest. So,
Fire rescue next, that's right.
and then fire and rescue's next, I guess, which is another story. So, all right, you're okay with that one? Let's see, G, and you pulled this one, Mr. Cully? Anyhow,
Yes, sir.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Well, let me tell you, we thought we had a policy before after the storms, seems like yesterday, but, well, a year ago or so, because we did have some serious storms a while back. But the last ones that were last month, I was asking Mr. Schiebel if we would charge, and he said yes. And I called board members to see if that was their recollection. Mr. Seeley reminded me that we'd done it before, and he thought it was a policy. Nobody else had a problem. I think it's a good thing for citizens in the case where there's a storm, an actual emergency or close to it, that we allow local haulers from the county to take the debris to the landfill for free. So directly, each citizen benefits because they're not paying for that extra cost to the county, And although Mr. Schiebel has said we hire a contractor to burn, my neighbor and I would definitely agree that if we burn that 300-year-old oak tree,